Hi children, welcome you all, grade 5, for our today's English class. Children, in the last session, in our teaching video, we discussed and saw the story from the second chapter from our workbook, The Foolish Frogs. We discussed the story and we learned the question answers and the true or false that was given in the page number. So children, today in this session, we are going to see the remaining exercise, that is the book back exercises for the story, The Foolish Frog, from page number 12, 13 and 14. Let's get into the session, children. Children, this is the first exercise, section A, from page number 11. Write true or false for these sentences. And section B, answer these questions. These two exercises that we already completed in the previous class along with the story from page number 11, The Foolish Frogs. Children, now we are going to see the first exercise from page number 12 from our second chapter from your workbook, The Foolish Frogs. Vocabulary area. Under vocabulary, first exercise is about colloquial language. Exercise, it is our vocabulary. In vocabulary, we have colloquial language. So first, let's know and understand what is meant by colloquial language and why we are using, where we are using it in our daily routine. So first, let's see and know about what is meant by colloquial language under the title of vocabulary from page number 12 from the second story from our workbook, The Foolish Frogs. Colloquial language. What is meant by colloquial language? Look at here, children. The colloquial language is the informal language. It is the language of everyday conversation. So children, colloquial language is an informal language. That language we will use in the everyday conversation and is used to make it easy for readers to relate to the text. So it will make the readers easy and to understand the things easily. So colloquial language is the informal language that we will use in the everyday conversation, and this is used to the readers to understand and relate the text easily. For example, staying out late. Give your folks a call. Folks means here friends. So look at the example carefully, children. Here, staying out late, give your folks a call. Folks means here friends. So folks is a colloquial language that means friends. Here that was used to relate and make the reader easy to understand. So that's what the word folks is used. For folks means friends here. So that is known as colloquial language. Now I think you are clear about what is meant by colloquial language, children. Let's move on to the book exercise. So now we can see the textbook exercise about the vocabulary colloquial language. Under the vocabulary, we have first one, colloquial language. Look at the title, section A, some colloquial words. Look at the title for the exercise, children. Some colloquial words are given in the box. Some colloquial words are given in the box. Find their formal counterparts in the word grid. So here, inside the box, we have highlighted they have highlighted some colloquial words. You have to say the meaning for those words. So first one, look at the first one here, children. First one, it is mate. So where will we use the word mate? That means classmate, busmate, vanmate, we used to say. So, who is called as mate? Yes, your guess is correct. First one, mate is friend. Mate means friend. Where is friend? Yes, here in the second line we have the word friend, F-R-I-E-N-D, friend. So, mate, M-A-T-E, mate means friend, F-R-I-E-N-D, friend. Look at the next word. It is nop, N-O-P-E, nop. N-O-P-E, nop. What is mean by nop? Nop means no. Nop means no. N-O, no. Nop means N-O, no. Then look at the third word, that is smashing. Look at the third word here. It is smashing. Smashing, that is the colloquial language. That means smashing means brilliant. Where is brilliant, children? Yes, the first line we have the word brilliant. B-R-I-L-L-A-N-T, brilliant. Brilliant or grand we can say. So, brilliant. Okay. So, smashing, S-M-A-S-H-I-N-G, smashing means brilliant, B-R-I-L-L-I-E-A-N-T, brilliant, B-R-I-L-L-I-A-N-T, brilliant. Next word is gramps, G-R-A-M-P-S, gramps. What is mean by gramps? Gramps means grandfather, G-R-A-N-D, grandfather, F-A-T-H-E-R, father. Gramps, G-R-A-M-P-S, gramps means grandfather. So you have to circle the word grandfather, dear children. Next, the next word is photograph. Photograph, it is not a colloquial language, it is a normal language. So there is no word for photograph. Next, we need to go to the next word. G-R-U-B, grub. Grub means it is food. Where is food? Yes, F-O-O-D, food. That you have to circle. So, that's all from the colloquial language, children. First one, I'll repeat, mate, M-A-T-E, mate. That means friend, F-R-I-E-N-D, friend. Next, nop, N-O-P-E, nop. Nop means no, N-O, no. You have to circle it. Then smashing. Smashing means brilliant, B-R-I-L-L-I-A-N-T, brilliant. Smashing means brilliant. Then gramps. Gramps means grandfather, G-R-A-N-D, grandfather, F-A-T-H-E-R, father, grandfather. Then photograph. For photograph there is no word here. It is not a colloquial language. Then grump. Grump. Grump means food, F-O-O-D, food, G-R-U-B, grub. Grub means food, F-O-O-D, food. Grub, G-R-U-B, grub means F-O-O-D, food. So mate means friend. Nop means no. Smashing means brilliant. Gramps means grandfather. Grump means food. So that's all from the colloquial language, children. Next we are going to see the next part, that is prefix and suffix. So let's know what is mean by prefix and suffix first. Understand it. Then we will move on to the book exercise, children. Children, what is mean by prefix and suffix? Listen carefully and understand it, children. Look at here. The definition for prefix. Look at here, children. The definition for prefix is letters added before a root at the beginning of a word is known as prefix. Letters added before a root word at the beginning of the word, that is known as prefix, children. Function, a prefix changes the word's meaning. So when you add the prefix, definitely the meaning of the word will be totally changed. For example, look at here. prefix un meaning not. So the meaning for the prefix un is not. So root word is lucky. The word is lucky. When you add the prefix un, it is completely changed into not lucky. So the lucky is the word, root word. While we are adding the prefix un, definitely it will change into the meaning as not lucky. Un means not, lucky is lucky, so not lucky. The same way, uncooked, cooked is changed by adding the prefix un, then totally the meaning of the word is changed as not cooked. So that is known as prefix, children. So prefix is the letters added before a root word, that is the beginning of the word, to change the word's meaning completely when the prefix is used. So that is known as prefix, children. Let's move on and see to the suffix. So the vice versa is the suffix. So here in prefix we are adding some words in the beginning, but whereas in the suffix we have to add some words at the end of the word. So when we add something along with the root word at the end of the word, that will change the word completely and its meaning. The suffix changes the word's meaning completely. Look at the example now. Children, listen carefully. Here is the root word and the suffix together changes its meaning completely as a new word. First word, look at here, berry. Berry is the root word and we are adding the suffix as es. Together it is berries. Look at the second word, baby. The root word is baby and the suffix is ish. Babyish. B-A-B-Y-I-S-H. Babyish. Look at the third word, run. The suffix is er. Together it is runner. Then the last word is adore. Is the root word. Able is the suffix. Together it is adorable. So likewise, in the prefix we need to add some words in the beginning of the root word. In the suffix we need to add some words at the back of the root word, that is known as suffix. Children, look at the image here. Picture a group of letters attached before or after the root word, that is known as prefix and suffix. So look at the root word here, accept. We are adding un as prefix, able as suffix. So unaccepted, unaccept, that is prefix. A group of letters placed before the root word, that is prefix. So here in this word, un is the prefix, suffix is able. A-B-L-E, able is the suffix. Because we are adding at the last, that is after the root word, when we add some words, that is known as suffix. So together it is unacceptable. Children, now you would have understood what is meant by prefix and suffix. Let's move on to the book exercise. Look at here, children, the exercise section B, prefix and suffix. Look at the title here. Add prefix or suffix to the words given to make new word. Follow the examples given. So see the prefix added here. Understand is a word. When we are adding prefix miss, together it is misunderstand. It gives completely different meaning. So when we add prefix to the word, root word, so understand is the root word. When we are adding the prefix miss, together it will change its meaning as misunderstand. So that's what here also in suffix you can see attract. Attract is the root word. At the last, we are using some words. Shun, I-O-N, that is suffix. When we add with the root word attract, shun, it will change it to attraction. So it gives a new word. It creates a new word when we add prefix or suffix. So that's we are going to see in this exercise, children. Look at the first word for you. Dash honest. We are using the prefix dis. D-I-S. Dis. Honest. H-O-N-E-S-T. So honest. When we add the prefix dis, it is completely changed into another meaning, that is dishonest. Look at the second one. It is also a prefix. So dash learn. Prefix we are using, root word is learn. The prefix we are using is un. So it is unlearn. Then the third word is misinterpret. Misinterpret. Dash interpret. Interpret is the root word. We are using the prefix mis. I-M-I-S. Mis. So it is misinterpret. Misinterpret. Look at the fourth word. Sportsman dash. Sportsmanship. So as we are adding ship at the last, it is known as suffix. So when we add some words at the last of the word, after the root word, then it is known as suffix. When we add some words before the root word, it is known as prefix. So be clear in this, children. Sportsman plus ship. Together it is sportsmanship. Then fifth one is acknowledge. Acknowledge is the root word. Suffix we are adding is ment. Together it is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement. Okay. Look at the sixth word. The root word is child. The suffix is hood. Together it is childhood. So I'll repeat. First prefix dishonest. Second one prefix unlearn. Third one prefix interpret. Fourth one sportsmanship. It is suffix. Ship is suffix, so sportsmanship. Fifth one acknowledgement. And the sixth one is childhood. All the fourth, fourth, fifth, sixth is suffix. First, second, third is for prefix. So write the answer clearly in your workbook, children. So this is the exercise from page number 12. So we saw the previous one, colloquial language, option A, that is exercise A, and exercise B, it is the prefix and suffix under the vocabulary area from page number 12. So that's all from page number 12. Let's move on to the next exercise, that is from page number 13. It is pronoun. It is the grammar area, pronoun. Let's see what is meant by pronoun. Then we will discuss the book exercise, children. Children, first let's know what is meant by pronouns. Pronouns are the word that replaces the noun. See the examples here. So the words are the pronouns like here, I, me, she, we, they, who, that, yours, his, her, it, etc. So these are the pronouns that we will use to replace the nouns. Look at the example given here. She or her, them or they, it. So for girl, she or her. For children, them or they. For objects, we can use it. So these are the pronouns are there in English. This pronoun is further divided into so many types. Let's see about it now. Children, there are so many types of pronouns are available in English. So first, pronouns are the words that we use in the place of nouns in a sentence to make it less respective and less. The types of pronouns are listed here. First one is personal pronouns. Second one is demonstrative pronoun. Third one is interrogative pronoun. Fourth one is relative pronoun. Fifth one is indefinite pronouns. Sixth one is reflexive and intensive pronouns. Seventh one is reciprocal pronoun. So these are the pronouns are there in English. Now for you, the personal pronoun and relative pronoun alone is given in your workbook. So first let's see the personal pronoun and relative pronoun in detail. So look at the personal pronoun. What is meant by personal pronoun? It is used for a specific object or a person. Subjective case are I, we, you, they, he, she, it. And objective case are me, us, you, them, him, her, it. Possessive case are my, our, your, their, his, her or its. So these are all personal pronoun. So it always talks about the first and second, third person. I, we, you, they, he, she, it. Subjective case, then me, us, you, them, he, her, him, it, its. These are all objective case. Then possessive case are my, our, your, their, his, her, its. These are all personal pronouns, children. Look at the relative pronoun. Relative pronoun are used to join or release two different class together by referring to the noun in the previous class using the pronouns. For example, relative pronouns words are who, whom, whose, which, that, etc. So these are all known as relative pronoun, children. What is meant by personal pronoun, children? A personal pronoun is a pronoun that is associated primarily with a particular person in the grammatical sense. There are two types of personal pronouns. One is subjective pronoun, another one is objective pronoun. The subjective pronouns are subjects pronouns. They are I, he, she, we, they, it, you. These are all subject pronouns. And the object pronouns are me, us, you, them, him, her, it. These are all objective pronoun, children. So the personal pronoun is furtherly divided into two types. One is subjective pronoun, another one is objective pronoun. Subjective pronouns are I, he, she, it, we, they, it, you, etc. And the objective pronouns are me, us, him, her, them, it, you, etc. Children, here you have the personal pronouns in detail. In the grammatical sense, a personal pronoun is a pronoun that is related mainly to the particular person. Personal pronouns are not limited to people and can also refer to animals and other objects. So I told you personal pronouns are further divided into two types. One is subjective pronoun, another one is objective pronoun. The subjective pronouns are I, you, we, he, she, it, they. And the objective pronouns are me, you, us, him, her, it, them. So see here the singular and plural form of first person, second person and third person. If the first person I, in subjective pronoun the objective pronoun is we. In the second person, if the subjective pronoun is you, objective pronoun also you. In the third person he, she, it. In the subjective pronoun it is subject he, she, it. In the objective pronoun it will change into him, her or it. In plural form, the first person we in the subjective pronoun, in the objective pronoun it should be changed as yes, us. Second person you should be changed as you, and the third person they should be changed as them in the plural form of subjective and objective pronouns, children. Now let's see the book exercise. After seeing the book exercise, you will be clear about what is meant by personal pronoun. So see here, children, the personal pronouns, that is the normal pronoun in grammar area. The first exercise, substitute the underlined words with suitable pronouns and rewrite them in the sentences. Rewrite the sentences. So look at here. This is my book. So here my book is underlined. Then my book should be changed into, that is the noun, book is the noun, that should be changed as pronoun. If it is changed as pronoun, then it will automatically changed as mine. My book is mine. So the answer is, this is mine. M-I-N-E, mine. T-H-I-S, this. I-S is. M-I-N-E, mine. Look at the second one. Rishi has bought a new pen. So which is underlined here? Rishi. Rishi means is he a boy or girl? Yes, he is a boy. So we have to use he. The pronoun he we need to use. So he has bought a new pen. Instead of Rishi, we have to use the pronoun he. Then Anuj and Ravi. Look at the third one. Anuj and Ravi are working together on the project. So Anuj and Ravi, two persons they are talking about. So immediately it will change. It should be changed into they. If one person means we can use he. If two boy are doing the work together, so they. We need to use the pronoun they. T-H-E-Y, they. They are working together on the project. That's it. So look at the fourth one, children. These are her notes. These are her notes. Then the answer is, these are hers. Hers. H-E-R-S, hers. These are hers. So her note should be changed into hers. Then look at the fifth one. This is my bicycle. Mine. Already we saw in the first one, it is my book means we should immediately change. As proper pronoun means we have to use the word mine. This is mine and that is your bicycle. So that is your. So your bicycle should be changed into yours. So this is mine and that is yours. So that is the answer, children. Then sixth one, Harsh and I. So with a name, if the pronoun I is used, it should be automatically changed into we. We will attend the event in the evening. So Harsh and I should be changed into we. We will attend the event in the evening. So this is the way we need to change the underlined words into pronouns, children. So this is what the personal pronoun as well as pronouns in our grammar area. First exercise. This is mine. This is my book. This is mine. Rishi has bought a new pen. He has bought a new pen. Anuj and Ravi are working together on the project. They are working together on the project. They are working together on the project. These are her notes. These are hers. This is my bicycle and that is your bicycle. So this is mine, that is yours. Harsh and I will attend the event in the evening. So Harsh and I will change into we. We will attend the evening in the event in the evening. So this is what the pronoun, children, pronoun. Let's move on and see to the relative pronoun. Next we are going to see about relative pronoun, children. Already we know what are all the relative pronoun. So relative pronouns are the words that will connect the class and phrase. That is meaning and non-meaning sentences to a noun or a pronoun. You see them used every day with the most common relative pronouns being like who, whom, which, whoever, whomever, whichever, that. These are all pronouns, relative pronouns, children. So look at the example here. Peter is one who gifted me a scarf. Next example, it is made up of a fabric that is very soft. So these are all relative pronouns, children. So WH words like whom, who, whose, whoever, whomever, whichever, and that. So these are all relative pronouns, children. So look at the exercise here for relative pronoun, children. Exercise B, circle the incorrect relative pronouns and rewrite the sentences correctly. So relative pronoun, what is relative pronoun? Whom, who, whose, whoever, whichever, that. These are all relative pronouns, no? So we have to take out the incorrect relative pronouns and you have to correct it. So that is the exercise number B. So look at the first one. She is the girl whom topped the exams. She is the girl whom topped the exams. So which is the relative pronoun here? Yes, the underlined word. What is the underlined word? Whom is the relative pronoun. So the whom should be changed. She is the girl who topped the exams. Who topped the exams. We have to correct it. So we have corrected and we have changed the relative pronoun whom with the word, correct word who, with the correct relative pronoun who. So she is the girl who topped the exams. So likewise, second one, the park who we play in is near my home. The park who we play in it near is in. So is in is. So in is wrong. We should not use in. So the park who we play is near my home. That is the question. The park who we play is near my home. So the answer here, the relative pronoun is who. So we have to change it. The park where we play is near my home. So instead of who, that is a relative pronoun, we have changed the pronoun as relative pronoun as where. The park where we play is near my home. So then only it will give complete meaning. So look at the third one. Do you know anything about the work who he was doing? Do you know anything about the work who he was doing? So we have to change the relative pronoun who instead of some other word. So look at the answer here. Do you know anything about the work which he was doing? Which he was doing. So that is the correct relative pronoun, children. Then fourth one, Rajat, whose came to the party yesterday is her brother. Rajat, whose came to the party yesterday is her brother. So which is the relative pronoun? It is whose is the relative pronoun. So we have to change it. Rajat, who came to the party yesterday is her brother. Rajat, who came to the party yesterday is her brother. Then fifth one, the neighborhood is in whom I live is quite beautiful. So which is the relative pronoun here? I didn't underline. So whom is the relative pronoun here, children? So we have to change it. The neighborhood in which I live is quite beautiful. So instead of whom we changed into which. We changed into which. Look at the sixth one. She entered the building whose has been empty for some time now. She entered the building whose has been empty for some time now. So look at the answer here. She entered the building which has been empty for some time. Which has been empty for some time. So we have replaced the relative pronoun whose with the help of another word which. So this is known as relative pronoun, children. So now you would have understood what is meant by relative, children. Relative pronoun. So write the answers neatly in your workbook using pencil. Please don't use pen. Write everything in pencil. Then only you can easily correct it if it is wrong. So that's all from the relative pronoun. Let's move on to the next exercise, that is punctuation. So in the previous sessions and all, we are discussing one by one each punctuation we are seeing. So last time in the first chapter we underscore, that is hyphen, punctuation hyphen we discussed. Now we are going to see about comma. What is the use of comma and where we need to use. Let's see it now. Children, now let's see about punctuation. What is meant by punctuation? Look at here, children. Punctuation is the system of symbols like comma, full stop, exclamatory mark, hyphen, semicolon, etc. that we use to separate sentences and parts of sentences and to make their meaning clear. So each symbol is called a punctuation mark. So these comma, full stop, exclamatory mark, hyphen, semicolon, apostrophe, these are all the symbols which is known as punctuation mark. So where we are using, it is essential in writing purpose. So it is essential in writing purpose and show where sentences are starting and where it is ending. So where it is start and finish and make the writing easy to understand. So these are the points that is about the punctuation. I'll repeat, children. Punctuation is the system of symbols that we use to separate the sentences and parts of sentences and make their meaning clear. Each symbol is called a punctuation mark. The essential is in writing. So punctuation is essential in writing and show where sentences is starting and finishing, and it makes writing easy to understand. So that is known as punctuation, children. Children, there are so many punctuations are there in English. So here few punctuation marks. First one is comma, second one is apostrophe, third one is hyphen, fourth one is ellipsis, fifth one is full stop, sixth one is exclamatory mark, seventh one is question mark, eighth one is parenthesis, ninth one is bracket, 10th one is colon, 11th one is semicolon, 12th one is slash, 13th one is quotation mark, that is double quotation, 14th one is dash. So these are the few punctuation marks for you children to know. There are so many punctuations are there. Only few it is listed now in the image. So I have explained here. Today now we are going to see about the first one punctuation, that is comma. What is a comma? A comma is a punctuation mark that indicates a pause is needed in a sentence. So where we need to give a pause, there we have to use the commas. And also commas help to clarify meaning for the reader. So a comma is a punctuation mark that indicates a pause where it is needed in a sentence, and commas help to clarify meaning for the reader. So this is known as comma, children. So comma is very important and it will give a pause in a sentence. So that is the use of comma, children. Let's move on and see to the exercise now. So this is what the page number 14, children, from your workbook, from the story chapter 2, The Foolish Frogs. So in the last exercise we have punctuation, and we saw so many punctuations are there in the previous image picture. Now we are going to see and we are going to use the punctuation mark, that is comma. So look at the exercise given here, children. Rewrite these sentences with comma inserted at the correct places. So wherever is needed, there we need to give comma and we have to write the sentences, children. So see here, first one, yes, I have finished my homework. So here after yes we need to give some pause. Yes, I have finished my work. So whatever is needed, wherever is needed pause, we need to give comma. So here after yes we are giving a pause, so we have to use comma, children. Yes, comma, I have finished my work. So that's the first question, children. Look at the second question. However, we have to wait one more day. However, we have to wait one more day. So where I gave pause, very good. I gave pause after however. So we have to give comma there. So however, comma, we have to wait one more day. So that's the second question. Look at the third question, children. When it's evening, you can go to the park. When it's evening, you can go to the park. So when it's evening, there I am giving the pause. So when it's evening, comma, you can go to the park. So after evening we have to give a comma. Then while the children were playing, grandfather was watching. While the children was playing, grandfather was watching TV. So where I am giving pause, while the children were playing, comma, grandfather was watching TV. So this is the way we need to give commas wherever the pause is given. So next one, fifth one. Yes, you can read before going to bed. Yes. So where I am giving pause after yes. Very good. So yes, comma, you can read before going to bed. Then the sixth one. No, you may not leave the school early. No. So after no, I am giving a long pause. So comma we need to use after no. No, comma, you may not leave the school early. So this is the way, wherever we are giving pause, we need to give the punctuation mark comma. So be clear in this, children. So that's all. We have completed all the pages from the chapter 2 story, The Foolish Frog. The remaining writing part is there, that we will discuss later. Write all the exercises neatly, clearly using pencil in your workbook. Please don't use pen. Just to show you, to make the image visible and clear, I have used pen to write the answers, but you should not use pen. You have to use only pencil, children. So use pencil and write the exercises neatly without any mistake. So that's all from the book exercise, children. So watch the video completely, understand the grammar concepts, vocabulary concepts, and the punctuation marks using comma. So write all the answers clearly, neatly in your workbook using your pencil, children, and take a photocopy and send it through Teachment in your respective Emerald English group. If you have any other doubts, you can call me and you can clarify your doubts.